What if I told you that time as you know it isn't real? That the way you measure it, feel it, fear it, is not only artificial, but deliberately designed to control you? This isn't science fiction. This isn't a philosophical daydream. This is about the most invisible prison ever built. A system so pervasive, so intimate you forgot it was there. Because once they controlled your time, they didn't just control your minutes, they controlled your life. Let's begin. Time feels objective, unyielding, universal. The clock ticks and the world moves. But have you ever asked yourself why some hours feel like seconds and some seconds like hours? Why does time fly when you're in love and crawl when you're in fear? Because time, as you feel it, is not fixed. It bends, it stretches, it folds in on itself. Time is not a constant, it's an experience. But here's the catch. You were trained to ignore your experience in favor of the machine. The machine has a name, the clock. That ticking hand you glance at 100 times a day? That glowing number at the top of your phone screen? It is the metronome of your obedience. We treat it like a fact, but it's a filter that reshapes your decisions, your energy, your dreams, your worth. Let's go back. Long before the wristwatch and the Google Calendar, humans lived by the rhythms of the earth. The sun rose, the birds sang, the crops grew, the tides shifted. Life wasn't measured, it was lived. Time was cyclical, not linear. It moved like a spiral, not a line. Ancient cultures understood time through story and sensation. The Egyptians watched the flooding of the Nile. The Mayans charted celestial patterns. Indigenous peoples felt time in breath, in silence, in presence. There were no appointments, only alignment. No rush, only rhythm. But then came precision. Mechanical clocks began to appear in 14th century Europe, not to help people, but to control them. The church wanted to regulate prayer, towns wanted to coordinate taxes, and eventually factories wanted to regulate labor. Fast forward to the Industrial Revolution. People didn't live by sunrise and sunset anymore. They lived by shift and schedule, 8 to 5, 9 to 6, tick, tock. Time became a resource, a commodity, a weapon. Time is money. That phrase didn't just shape the economy. It rewrote human identity. Suddenly, your value wasn't your wisdom, your presence, your intuition. It was your output per hour. How much can you do in a day? How fast can you respond? How efficient can you become? We stopped asking, how do I feel? And started asking, what time is it? The clock, once a tool, became a master. And you became a servant to your alarm clock, to your deadlines, to your calendar, to your constantly buzzing device. You check the time to see how late you are, how early you are, how guilty you should feel, how proud you're allowed to be. It tells you when to sleep, when to eat, when to stop dreaming and start doing. But here's what they never told you. The clock was invented, not discovered. Time as we use it today is a system, a structure, a grid overlaid on reality, not reality itself. And once you confuse the two, you lose your freedom. Let's go deeper. Imagine a man in a cage. The bars are thick, the lock is tight, but over time, he forgets he's in a cage at all. He decorates the bars, he arranges his routine, he becomes proud of his efficiency within the cell. And when someone whispers, "You can leave," he laughs. Why would I? I've optimized everything. That man is us. You see it everywhere, the student panicking before an exam, not because they aren't smart, but because the clock is ticking. The parent rushing their child, "We're late! Hurry! Move!" The artist abandoning inspiration. "I just don't have time." But they all do. What they don't have is ownership over their time. You were born into a rhythm, but trained into a race. And the moment you began racing, you stopped listening. You stopped listening to your body, your tiredness, your hunger, your wonder. You stopped listening to your mind, your dreams, your distractions, your need to pause. You stopped listening to the world, its beauty, its signals, its cycles, because the only thing you were taught to listen to was the clock. Let's talk about guilt. Ever taken a day off and felt bad? Ever sat still and heard a voice whisper, "You're wasting time"? That voice isn't you. It's your programming. You've been taught that unless you're producing, earning, building, improving, you're failing. That rest is indulgent. That silence is unproductive. That joy is frivolous. This isn't culture. This is control. Because a person who believes time is scarce will sell anything to buy it back. They'll buy faster food, faster cars, faster internet. They'll trade rest for hustle, play for productivity, peace for pressure, because time, they're told, is running out. But is it? Ask yourself honestly, where are you rushing to? If life is a race, where's the finish line? And what do you find when you cross it? The truth is, they don't want you to arrive. They want you to run. Forever. Because runners don't rebel. Runners don't reflect. Runners don't wake up. And now, maybe, you are. Let's begin again. Only this time, with eyes open. What if everything you were told about time was not only incomplete, but deliberately distorted? What if the race against the clock, the pressure, the guilt, the feeling that you're constantly running out, was never meant to be your natural state, but a carefully engineered system to keep you obedient, anxious, and endlessly productive? To understand how this illusion was crafted, we have to go deeper. Governments and institutions discovered long ago that a scheduled, synchronized population is easier to manage. Time regulation wasn't about harmony, it was about control. Schools were modeled after factories to instill discipline, not curiosity. Bells didn't ring to guide you, they rang to command you. The goal wasn't education, it was preparation for industrial obedience. Let's pause there. Think about your earliest memories of time. Being told when to wake up, when to eat, when to study, when to play. Not because it matched your natural rhythm, but because it aligned with a system. The system didn't adapt to you. You were trained to adapt to it. And that training never stopped. The education system taught you that your worth is measured by grades and punctuality. The job market taught you that your value is tied to hours worked. And society taught you that every moment must be maximized, that rest is laziness and slowness is failure. But that's not time, that's programming. Even our language reveals the trap. I'm running out of time. Time is slipping away, wasting time. As if time is a currency, one you must hoard, spend, and never lose. But what if that's the greatest lie? What if time isn't something to manage, but something to remember, something to feel, to honor, to reclaim? This brings us to modern life. Technology promised freedom. It delivered convenience. But hidden beneath that convenience is a deeper enslavement. The tools meant to save time, email, smartphones, calendars, have invaded every moment. We don't work 9 to 5 anymore. We work always, on call, logged in, available, responsive, performing. You scroll through apps that hijack your attention, notifications that fragment your focus, alarms that interrupt your intuition. The digital world didn't free us from the clock. It built 1,000 invisible ones. And what is the cost? Presence. You're never fully here. Always checking, always planning, always chasing. And all of it, every email, every alert, every deadline, pulls you further from the one thing that matters. Your awareness, your breath, your now. So how do we break free? Step 1 is seeing the illusion, truly seeing it. Recognize that time has been weaponized, not to serve you, but to use you. That urgency is not your natural state. It's a manufactured condition. That guilt for slowing down is not truth. it's indoctrination. Step 2 is reclaiming presence. Start by asking a radical question. What if I already have enough time? Let that sink in. Not because you become more productive, but because you become more present. Notice the way the sun filters through your window, the sound of your footsteps on the pavement, the texture of silence in a quiet room. These aren't distractions from your schedule. They are time itself, raw, unfiltered, sacred. Step 3 is rewriting your relationship with time. Create rituals instead of routines. Replace urgency with intention. Let your body, not your calendar, decide when to move, when to rest, when to reflect. Take back the mornings. Reclaim your evenings. Fill the gaps between should and must with breath, not obligation. And step 4, the most difficult of all, is to let go of the race. Because there is no finish line, no ultimate moment when everything will be done, when you will have earned the right to rest. That's the illusion, the dangling carrot, the trap. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be. And the moment you realize that, the moment you stop sprinting toward a horizon that keeps moving, you begin to experience something extraordinary. Freedom. Not the freedom to escape time, but the freedom to live inside it, fully, deliberately, humanly. You were never meant to beat the clock. You were meant to rise above it. And now, you can.